The grand chamber of the Galactic Council buzzed with barely contained laughter. On the massive holographic display floating in the center of the room, Earth's ambassador continued his presentation, either unaware or choosing to ignore the growing mockery around him. Commander James Stone stood at perfect attention behind the ambassador, his weathered face revealing nothing. At 52 years old, he had spent enough time in space to know that appearances could be deceiving. His gray hair and the slight wrinkles around his eyes spoke of experience, not weakness. The Infinity Edge represents humanity's greatest achievement, the ambassador declared, his voice steady despite the increasing number of snickers from the alien representatives. Our first seventh-dimensional vessel will revolutionize space travel as we know it. A burst of outright laughter erupted from the crystalline beings known as the Bright Ones. Their transparent bodies flickered with pulses of amused light, creating rainbow patterns across the chamber's walls. The tallest among them rose, its form stretching nearly 15 feet high. "Forgive our reaction," the Bright One spoke, its voice like chimes in the wind, "but this is simply too amusing. We, who have mastered fifth-dimensional travel after 10,000 years of research, are expected to believe that humans, barely spacefaring for 2 centuries, have somehow leaked beyond us." Stone's jaw tightened slightly. He had seen this coming. Humans were the newest members of the Galactic Council, often dismissed as primitive despite their rapid advancement. The announcement of the Infinity Edge was meant to change that perception. Instead, it seemed to be reinforcing it. Perhaps, another alien delegate called out, this one a mass of shifting shadows. They confused their dimensions. 3, 7. Numbers can be so tricky for young species. More laughter followed. The ambassador remained diplomatic. "We understand your skepticism. That's why we've brought proof. Commander Stone here will be captaining the Infinity Edge on its maiden voyage next week. We invite any interested parties to observe the launch." Stone stepped forward, his blue uniform crisp and immaculate. He had earned his position through decades of service, starting as a rescue pilot in the Mars colonies and working his way up through the ranks. The Infinity Edge wasn't just humanity's greatest achievement, it was his life's purpose. "The vessel has completed all testing phases," Stone stated simply. He didn't bother raising his voice over the continued chuckles. "We're not here to ask for permission or approval. This is merely a courtesy notification to our fellow council members." The chamber grew quieter at his words. The Bright One's lights dimmed slightly. "Are you suggesting," it chimed, "that you will proceed regardless of the council's concerns?" "Yes." Stone's response was immediate and firm. "Earth has followed all required protocols for new technology introduction. We've submitted our safety documentation. The launch will proceed as scheduled." A new voice cut through the tension, belonging to a being of pure energy contained within a specialized field. "This is beyond irresponsible. You cannot possibly understand the forces you're dealing with. Even our simulations of sixth-dimensional space are theoretical. The power requirements alone are well within our capabilities," Stone interrupted. He hadn't planned to speak again, but something in him had snapped. "Humanity may be young by your standards, but we've learned to think differently. Sometimes the shortest path between 2 points isn't the obvious one." The ambassador shot Stone a warning look, but the damage, or perhaps the statement of intent, was done. The chamber erupted into chaos as dozens of species began talking at once. Some were still laughing, but others were now arguing about regulations and safety protocols. Footage of the session spread across the galaxy within hours. News channels played the clip of the Bright Ones laughing on repeat. Commentary ranged from amused to concerned, but the consensus was clear. Humanity had finally gone too far in its ambitions. Back on the Infinity Edge, docked in Earth's orbital station, Stone stood at the bridge window watching the stars. Behind him, crews ran final checks on systems that most of the galaxy believed impossible. He smiled slightly, remembering an old Earth saying, "Those who laugh last, laugh best." The real question wasn't whether the ship would work. Stone had been through enough simulations and tests to know it would. The question was whether the galaxy was ready for what humanity had discovered about the true nature of dimensional travel. In 7 days, they would find out. And no one would be laughing then. Dr. Emma Reeb paced back and forth in the Infinity Edge's main laboratory, her hands moving rapidly as she explained humanity's breakthrough to the gathered reporters. The lab's white walls were covered in complex diagrams that looked more like art than science. Everyone else got it wrong, she said, pushing her glasses back up her nose. At 45, she had spent the last 20 years studying dimensional physics, but she still got excited like a child when talking about her work. They all thought bigger engines and more power were the answer. They were trying to force their way through dimensions. The reporters, a mix of human and alien journalists, watched as she pulled up a hologram of the human brain. It spun slowly in the air, neural pathways lighting up in patterns that seemed to dance. But the truth was simple, she continued, her brown eyes bright with enthusiasm. We already had the key. It was right here, in our heads, all along. She tapped her temple. Human consciousness itself is the bridge. A tentacled reporter raised 3 of its limbs. But other species have consciousness, it pointed out. Many have more advanced brains than humans. The bright ones can process information 1,000 times faster than your species. Emma smiled. This was her favorite part. She touched a control panel, and the hologram changed to show brain scans from different species. Speed isn't everything. Look at how human brains process reality. See these patterns. She highlighted several neural pathways. We dream. We imagine. We create entire worlds in our minds without even trying. The lad grew quiet as she continued. Other species see reality as it is. They're more efficient, yes. More logical, absolutely. But humans, she laughed softly. We see reality as it could be. Our brains naturally work with multiple possibilities at once. We daydream about the future while remembering the past, all while existing in the present. She walked over to a sealed chamber in the corner of the lab. Inside, a small device pulsed with a soft blue light. It looked surprisingly simple for something that would change the galaxy forever. This is the consciousness core, Emma explained. It doesn't force its way through dimensions like other ships try to do. Instead, it amplifies and focuses human consciousness, letting us perceive, and therefore exist in, higher dimensions naturally. A human reporter raised his hand. But how is that different from traditional dimensional travel? Emma picked up a piece of paper from her desk. Imagine this paper is 2-dimensional space. Traditional ships try to fold space. She folded the paper to connect 2 distant points. They're still operating within the rules of normal space, just taking shortcuts. She then held up a crystal cube. But with the consciousness core, we're not folding space. We're stepping outside it entirely. Like how a 3-dimensional being can see all points on a 2-dimensional surface at once, we can observe and interact with multiple dimensions simultaneously. The reporters scribbled frantically, their recording devices humming. Emma could tell most of them didn't fully understand, but that was okay. They didn't need to understand the theory. In a few days, they would see it in action. The biggest challenge wasn't the technology, she admitted, running her hand along the core's chamber. It was finding people whose brains could handle it. Not everyone can maintain consciousness across multiple dimensions without problems. She thought of the early tests, the failures, the volunteers who came back changed. But they had learned from each mistake, refined the process. Now they had a crew of 12, specially chosen for their unique neural patterns. Commander Stone's steady mind would keep them anchored. Officer Gray's unusual perception would guide them through dimensional space. The aliens laugh because they're looking for advanced technology, Emma said softly. They expect massive engines, exotic matter, or tears in space-time. Instead, we built something that looks simple because it is simple. We're not forcing our way through dimensions. We're accepting an invitation that's been there all along. She turned to face the reporters directly. Humanity didn't master dimensional travel, she declared. We just finally learned to see what was already there. The human mind is the most powerful dimensional engine ever created. We just had to learn how to use it. Behind her, the consciousness core pulsed steadily, its gentle light a promise of what was to come. In less than a week, it would show the galaxy exactly what humanity had discovered about the true nature of reality and consciousness itself. The morning of the launch arrived with an eerie silence. Earth's orbital station buzzed with activity as the Infinity Edge's crew made their final preparations. Through the massive viewing windows, hundreds of alien ships could be seen gathering at the safe distance marked by blinking warning buoys. Marcus Gray stood at his navigation console, his fingers hovering over the controls. At 35, he was the youngest senior officer on the bridge, chosen not for his years of experience, but for his unique mind. His brain scans had shown patterns never seen before, patterns that somehow matched the theoretical models of seventh-dimensional space. "Status report," Commander Stone called from his captain's chair, his voice steady and calm despite the tension filling the bridge. "Engineering reports all systems green," Dr. Reed responded from her station. The consciousness core hummed softly behind her, its blue light casting gentle shadows across her face. "Core temperature and neural link stability at optimal levels. Incoming transmission from the Galactic Council," announced the communications officer. "They're demanding we abort the launch. They say they've detected dangerous energy readings." Stone's face hardened. "Put them on screen." The main view screen flickered to life, showing the same bright one who had laughed at them a week ago. Its crystalline form pulsed with urgent red and yellow lights now, no trace of amusement left. "Your vessel is generating impossible readings," the bright one's voice chimed with alarm. "Our sensors indicate dimensional instabilities forming. You must power down immediately." "Those readings are expected," Stone replied calmly. "The Infinity Edge operates on different principles than your ships. Everything is functioning exactly as designed. We cannot allow this launch to proceed," the bright one declared. "For the safety of this sector, we will be forced to." Stone cut the transmission with a wave of his hand. "Mr. Gray, what do you see out there?" Marcus closed his eyes for a moment, letting his unusual perception expand. 3 battle groups moving into position. Their weapons are charged but not yet targeted. They're trying to box us in without starting a fight. "They're afraid," Dr. Reed said softly. "They can detect the core's effect on spacetime, but their instruments can't make sense of it. Fear makes people do stupid things." Stone nodded grimly. "All crew, this is your final chance to back out. What we're about to attempt has never been done before. Anyone who wants to leave, now's the time." Not a single person moved. "Very well." Stone straightened in his chair. "Begin launch sequence. Mr. Gray, take us out, nice and easy." The Infinity Edge's engines powered up, but they made hardly any sound. Unlike the roaring rockets of old ships or the humming drives of alien vessels, this ship moved with an almost supernatural grace. It glided away from the station as if it were skating on ice. Alarms blared as the alien ships began to move. "They're taking up attack positions," Marcus reported. "Multiple weapons locks detected." "Let them watch," Stone said. "Dr. Reed, begin core sequence." Emma's fingers danced across her console. The blue light of the consciousness core grew brighter, and Marcus felt the familiar tingling in his mind. His awareness began to expand, seeing not just what was, but what could be, what might be, what should be. "Core at 50%, Emma announced. "Neural links stable. Beginning consciousness expansion phase." The alien ships were close now, their weapons glowing with charged energy. Warning messages flooded the communications channels in dozens of languages. "Core at 75%, Emma continued. "Dimensional boundary layer approaching." Marcus could feel it now, the moment when reality would shift. His unique mind was already beginning to perceive the higher dimensions, seeing the paths they could take, the spaces between spaces. "Multiple weapons locks," the tactical officer shouted. "They're going to fire." "Core at 90%, Emma said, her voice steady. Mr. Gray, prepare for dimensional shift. Marcus placed his hands on the neural interface. Through it, he could feel the whole ship, all 12 crew members' consciousness beginning to merge with his own unique perception. They would be his anchors as he guided them through what came next. Core at maximum power, Emma announced. Dimensional shift in 3, 2, 1. The alien ships opened fire just as reality began to change. Marcus saw the energy beams coming not as simple lines of light, but as probability streams crossing multiple dimensions, and he knew exactly how to guide the ship through them. The greatest journey in human history was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. Reality broke apart like shattered glass, but in more directions than should be possible. Marcus Gray's unique mind processed what others would find impossible to comprehend as the infinity edge crossed the dimensional boundary. Colors that didn't exist flowed through the bridge. Shapes folded into themselves, unfolded, and then folded again along axes that normal space couldn't contain. The crew's training was the only thing keeping them from being overwhelmed by what their minds were experiencing. Status report, Commander Stone ordered, his voice somehow both a whisper and an echo across multiple dimensions. His iron discipline kept him focused even as he saw infinite versions of himself giving the same order across countless possibilities. Core is stable, Dr. Reed responded, her voice trailing streams of probability through the air. All crew neural patterns holding steady. Mr. Gray he's doing something amazing. Marcus floated in his navigation chair, his eyes open but seeing far beyond the physical bridge. Through the ship's neural interface, he perceived 7-dimensional space in its true form. It wasn't the chaotic nightmare that alien scientists had predicted. It was beautiful. I can see everything, he whispered, his words creating ripples through possibility space. It's like looking down at a map, but the map is reality itself. All timelines, all possibilities, they're all here. The alien weapons fire that had been heading toward them now existed as frozen streaks of light, caught in a single moment of time that stretched forever. Marcus could see each energy beam not just as a line, but as a complete history, its firing, its path, its intended destination, all existing simultaneously. Incredible, Dr. Reed breathed, monitoring the readings from the consciousness core. The core isn't just letting us travel through dimensions, it's letting us exist in all of them at once. Marcus, can you move us? Marcus smiled. Moving wasn't quite the right word anymore. In 7-dimensional space, movement as they understood it was just one of many options. I can do better than that, he said. I can choose where and when we want to be. Through the view screen, though view had taken on an entirely new meaning, they could see the alien ships frozen in their attack positions, but they could also see where those ships had been moments ago, where they would be minutes from now, and all the places they might have been in other possibilities. The aliens, Commander Stone said, maintaining his focus through sheer force of will. What do they see? Dr. Reed checked her instruments, which now displayed data in geometric patterns that somehow made perfect sense. From their perspective, we're everywhere and nowhere. Their sensors can't process our new state of existence. We're breaking every law of physics they built their science on. A crew member near the back of the bridge started laughing, the sound rippling through dimensions like waves on a pond. All their advanced technology, all their mockery, and they can't even see us properly anymore. Focus, Stone commanded, though his lips twitched slightly. Mr. Gray, can you stabilize our position relative to normal space? We need to show them exactly what humanity has achieved. Marcus nodded, his consciousness spreading through the ship's systems. He could feel every crew member's mind linked to his through the core, their combined human consciousness creating a stability that no machine could match. With careful precision, he began to align their 7-dimensional existence with regular spacetime. The process was like threading a needle, except the thread existed in 7 dimensions, and the needle eye was reality itself. But Marcus's unique perception made the impossible task feel natural, almost easy. "Dimensional alignment in progress," he reported. "We're going to give them quite a show." The Infinity Edge's hull began to shimmer as Marcus guided them through their first controlled dimensional manifestation. They weren't just traveling through space anymore. They were choosing which version of space they wanted to exist in. Dr. Reed's instruments recorded everything, gathering data that would revolutionize human understanding of physics. "The core is performing beyond our highest expectations," she said excitedly. "We're not just observing higher dimensions, we're interacting with them naturally." The human mind. We never realized how powerful it truly was. Commander Stone allowed himself a small smile as he watched the alien ships through the dimensional view screen. "Time to show the galaxy what humanity can really do," he said quietly. "Mr. Gray, let's give them a demonstration they'll never forget." The Infinity Edge hung in space like a dream made real, its hull reflecting light from dimensions the aliens couldn't even perceive. The laughter had stopped. The real show was about to begin. The alien ships fired their second volley, streams of plasma and energy weapons bright enough to vaporize a small moon. Commander Stone watched calmly as the destructive beams approached the Infinity Edge. Behind him, Marcus Gray smiled. "Should I dodge them, sir?" Marcus asked, though he already knew the answer. In seven-dimensional space, dodging had become an outdated concept. "No," Stone replied, his eyes fixed on the incoming fire. "Show them why they should have studied human imagination instead of laughing at it." Marcus didn't move the ship. Instead, he shifted its dimensional probability. The weapons fire passed harmlessly through the space where the Infinity Edge both was and wasn't. To the alien sensors, it would appear as if their weapons had hit nothing but empty space. Impossible. The transmission from the Bright One's flagship burst across all channels. "Our sensors show your ship still exists, but our weapons passed through you." Dr. Reed stepped forward, her eyes gleaming with scientific satisfaction. "Would you like me to explain what just happened?" she asked, her voice carrying a hint of well-earned pride. "Your weapons exist in normal space. We exist in 7 dimensions simultaneously. It's like trying to shoot a shadow. You can see it, but your bullets will always pass through it." The bridge crew watched as the alien ships frantically adjusted their weapons. Energy readings showed them powering up their strongest weapons, ones designed to tear holes in space itself. "They're preparing to fire dimensional disruptors," the tactical officer reported. "Weapons that can damage the fabric of space-time." Stone nodded. "Mr. Gray, show them what the Infinity Edge can really do." Marcus closed his eyes, connecting deeper with the consciousness core. Through it, he could see all possible locations of the ship at once. "Ready, sir. Would you like us to be everywhere or nowhere?" "Both," Stone said with a slight smile. Marcus reached out with his enhanced consciousness. Suddenly, the Infinity Edge existed in multiple states at once. To the alien sensors, it would appear as if the ship was simultaneously present at every major spaceship dock in the galaxy, while also maintaining its position near Earth. The effect on the alien fleet was immediate. Their weapons powered down as their sensors tried to make sense of what they were seeing. A ship couldn't be in thousands of places at once, yet their instruments clearly showed the Infinity Edge had done exactly that. By the eternal stars, the Bright One's voice had lost all its crystalline certainty. "What have you done?" Dr. Reed stepped closer to the view screen. "We're not breaking the laws of physics," she explained. "We're operating on a level where your understanding of those laws is simply incomplete. The human mind has always been capable of imagining multiple possibilities at once. We just found a way to make those possibilities real." To demonstrate her point, Marcus shifted the ship again. Now it appeared to phase in and out of existence, each appearance showing a slightly different version of the Infinity Edge. One pristine and new, another battle-scarred, another decorated with victory marks, all possible versions existing together. "Our weapons," one of the alien captains transmitted, "they can't lock onto you. It's like trying to target a thought." "Exactly," Dr. Reed said. "You can't shoot what exists in 7 dimensions with 3-dimensional weapons. That would be like trying to stop a cube by shooting at its shadow. Commander Stone stood from his chair, his presence commanding attention across all dimensions where the ship existed. "We could have kept this secret," he said. "We could have used it to dominate the galaxy. Instead, we chose to announce it, to share our discovery. And you responded with laughter and threats." The alien ships began to back away, their weapons completely powered down now. The fear in their transmissions was replaced by something else: awe. Marcus kept the ship stable across its multiple dimensional states, a feat that would have been impossible for any computer or conventional technology. It was the human mind's natural ability to imagine and believe in multiple possibilities that made it all work. "The choice is yours now," Stone continued. "You can continue to dismiss human achievements, or you can accept that perhaps, just perhaps, the youngest species in the galaxy has something to teach you about the true nature of reality." The silence that followed was broken only by the soft hum of the consciousness core, a sound that now seemed to echo across dimensions, a testament to humanity's greatest achievement, born not from arrogance, but from the simple human ability to dream beyond the possible. The Bright One's flagship drifted closer to the infinity edge, its crystalline structure no longer flashing with aggressive lights, but instead pulsing with soft colors of curiosity and wonder. Inside their ship, their most advanced sensors were finally beginning to understand what they were truly seeing. The Bright One's voice came through with uncharacteristic humility. "We have been measuring your ship's energy output incorrectly. It's not generating power in the way we expected." Dr. Reed nodded, even though her image on their screens probably appeared in multiple dimensions now. "Because you were looking for the wrong thing. You expected to see massive energy readings, space-time distortions, or dimensional tears. Instead, the Bright One finished. Your ship barely registers any energy output at all. It's more like watching a thought take physical form." On the bridge of the infinity edge, Marcus Gray's hands moved across his console, maintaining their stable existence across multiple dimensional states. Through the neural interface, he could feel the shift in the alien observers, from dismissal to fear, and now to the beginning of understanding. "Show them the full scan data," Commander Stone ordered. "Let them see exactly what they've been missing." Dr. Reed transmitted the Infinity Edge's technical readings to the alien fleet. The data showed something that contradicted everything the galaxy's advanced species had believed about dimensional travel. The ship wasn't forcing its way through dimensions or tearing holes in reality. It was simply existing in a more complete way. "Impossible," one of the alien scientists transmitted. "Your power consumption is lower than our standard transport vessels. How are you maintaining dimensional stability without brute force?" Dr. Reed finished. "Think about dreams. When you dream, your mind creates entire worlds without using any energy beyond the basic function of your brain. We're doing the same thing, just more controlled, more focused." The Bright One's ship moved closer, its sensors drinking in every detail they could capture. "Your consciousness technology. It's not just controlling the ship, is it? It's becoming the ship. Now you're beginning to understand," Stone said. "Mr. Gray, show them perspective shift delta." Marcus closed his eyes, and through the consciousness core, he shifted the entire crew's perception. Suddenly, every alien ship could see what he saw. The magnificent dance of probability and possibility, the beautiful patterns of seven-dimensional space, the way reality itself was more like a suggestion than a rigid framework. The effect lasted only seconds, but across the alien fleet, there was absolute silence. Many of their sensors temporarily overloaded, unable to process what they had just witnessed. "That," Marcus said softly, "is how we see things now. Not as they are, but as they could be, should be, might be, all at once." Dr. Reed checked her readings and smiled. "Their ships are adjusting their sensor protocols. They're finally starting to measure the right things." The Bright One's voice came back, filled with a new emotion that its crystalline form expressed through waves of deep blue light. "We owe you an apology, humans. We thought we understood the nature of dimensional travel. We thought bigger engines, more power, more advanced technology was the answer. But you. We looked inward instead of outward. Stone finished. Humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to imagine, to dream, to see beyond what is to what could be. We didn't build a better engine. We built a way to turn imagination into reality. Across the galaxy, at every major port where the Infinity Edge partially existed, similar conversations were taking place. Species that had long looked down on humanity were suddenly scrambling to understand this new paradigm of space travel. Your ship, the Bright One said, it's not traveling through the seventh dimension at all, is it? It's living in it, existing in it. Like the difference between watching a hologram of water and actually being in the ocean. Exactly, Dr. Reed confirmed. And that's why your weapons couldn't hurt us. You can't shoot something that exists in 7 dimensions with 3-dimensional weapons any more than a drawing of a gun could shoot a real person. The silence that followed was different from the mocking laughter of a week ago. It was the silence of a fundamental shift in understanding, of old certainties crumbling in the face of new possibilities. Commander Stone looked out at the alien fleet, now floating peacefully around them. The question is, he said quietly, are you ready to learn a new way of thinking about reality itself? 1 month after the historic launch of the Infinity Edge, the Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council looked very different. Where once there had been mocking laughter, now there was attentive silence. Commander Stone stood at the podium, no longer in the background but front and center, addressing representatives from every spacefaring species. Humanity's offer is simple, he said, his voice carrying across the chamber. We will share our understanding of consciousness-based dimensional travel freely. All we ask in return is a change in how we approach new discoveries. The Bright One who had once laughed the loudest now pulsed with respectful blue light. Please explain your terms, Commander. After what we witnessed, I believe everyone here is eager to listen. Marcus Gray sat in the front row beside Dr. Reed, both of them watching their commander with pride. The Infinity Edge's success had changed everything. In just 1 month, they had revolutionized galactic transportation. Ships now used a fraction of their former energy, and travel times had been reduced from years to moments. Our terms are these, Stone continued. First, no species, no matter how young, should be dismissed without understanding. Second, all research into dimensional travel must include specialists in consciousness and perception, not just engineers. And third, we work together, not in competition. Dr. Reed stood up, joining Stone at the podium. The consciousness core works because humans naturally think in possibilities, she explained. But every species has unique mental gifts. Imagine what we could discover by combining them all. The chamber erupted in excited discussion. Species that had never worked together were already forming research groups. The shadow being's natural understanding of dark matter could combine with the Bright One's mastery of light, all filtered through human dimensional perception. There's more, Stone said, raising his hand for quiet. Mr. Gray, would you show them? Marcus walked to the podium, placing his hands on a small console. Through it, he connected to the Infinity Edge's consciousness core, still in orbit above. The entire chamber shifted slightly as he expanded everyone's perception, just enough to see the truth. The gathered aliens gasped as they saw their own consciousness patterns for the first time. Each species glowed with unique mental energy, different but equally beautiful. In 7-dimensional space, their combined potential was staggering. This is what we see, Marcus explained softly. Not just matter and energy, but thought and possibility. Every species here has a piece of the puzzle. Together, we could unlock dimensions we haven't even dreamed of yet. Dr. Reed's instruments recorded the patterns. Already, we've discovered that the shadow beings naturally perceive the 8th dimension, though they never realized it. The crystalline structure of the Bright Ones resonates with the 9th. Humanity's gift wasn't discovering dimensional travel. It was learning to see how it all connects. The Bright One floated forward, A month ago, we laughed at humans for thinking too small. Now we understand we were the ones with limited vision. The Galactic Council accepts your terms, Commander Stone. Let this mark the beginning of true cooperation. Stone nodded, looking out over the chamber. The Infinity Edge was just the beginning. Already, our combined research teams have designed ships that can operate in dimensions we didn't even know existed. But more importantly, we've learned to listen to each other. Marcus smiled as he felt the shift in the chamber's collective consciousness. The aliens were beginning to understand that dimensional travel wasn't about forcing your way through reality. It was about understanding your place within it. The age of mockery is over, Stone declared. The age of wonder begins. Every species here has something to teach and something to learn. Together, there's no limit to what we can achieve. As if to emphasize his point, the Infinity Edge appeared briefly above the chamber, existing simultaneously in all possible states. Past, present, and future merged into one beautiful display of human ingenuity and alien cooperation. Dr. Reed's instruments recorded another spike in consciousness patterns across all species. They're starting to dream like we do, she whispered to Marcus. They're learning to see possibilities. Stone looked out at the gathered species, seeing not separate races, but a unified future. The galaxy once laughed at humanity's dreams, he said quietly. Now those dreams have opened doors we never knew existed. The question isn't what dimensions we can reach. It's what we'll discover together when we get there. The chamber erupted in applause, the sound echoing across multiple dimensions as a new era of galactic cooperation began. Humanity had done more than prove itself. It had shown the galaxy how to dream bigger than anyone thought possible.